So I'm going to do an example, a sample song, if you will. And my song is Stand by Trip Lee featuring Holding. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so we'll start with kind of the pre-chorus, right? It says, keep your faith to the sky, keep your head to the sky. And that's just an encouragement to continue to look up. Psalm 121 encourages us to look up. The reason people looked up is because that's where their gods were, in the hills. I lift my eyes up to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. We look up as a reminder that God is not represented by idols, shrines, or Asherah poles erected in the hills, but rather the true and living God is in us. Let's jump into the chorus. Stand by. He can lift your burdens when your hands tied. Step outside, close your eyes, let him shade you. I feel alive when I hide because I'm made to. So stand by. Just be ready. Okay, you don't need to do anything. Just be ready, stay ready. because if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. In terms of lifting burdens, Jesus lifts our burdens when we are unable to lift them ourselves. I don't know if you've ever had your hands tied and tried to lift something, especially if your hands are like tied at your wrists. You risk hurting your wrist, hurting your arms, especially if you're trying to lift something heavy. In Matthew 11:28-30, it says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden or burdened, and I will give you rest." Similarly, when it talks about step outside, close your eyes, let them shade you. I feel alive when I hide because I'm made to. We hide in his shelter. Psalm 91:1 says, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." We are made to hide or dwell in the shade of the one who covers us as a canopy. And a canopy is for the protection or defense of the one who is being covered. So Isaiah 4:6 states, "It will be a shelter and shade from the heat of the day, and a refuge and hiding place from the storm and rain." Continuing on, we have, "Holy Father, keep my head above the water. I've been drowning in disorder. I need you to slow the slaughter." When I was in undergrad, I had an older cousin who I would call every so often, generally on like a Friday afternoon when things had kind of died down. And she would always ask me, "Is your head above water?" This phrase, head above water, is an expression that's used to describe when one is in a place of adversity or is experiencing a sense of overwhelm. There's just a lot going on. And so here the psalmist articulates that it feels like he's drowning with everything that's going on around him. But more specifically, it feels as if he's under some sort of attack. When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will lift up a standard against him. Isaiah 59:19. So the psalmist is requesting that the one who shades or hides him slow down this attack or slaughter that's impacting his ability to navigate his journey safely. Psalm 91:3-4 says, "Surely he will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart." And the verse goes on to say, "Am I trusting while I'm climbing? Kinda, sorta. But you got good news for me. Send me more reporters. Gotta keep. So let's talk about trust. We've all been there. A tough time or trying challenge where we are faced with the reality of how much do I trust the Lord as I'm going through this situation or ordeal. This disorder that I'm surrounded by. This messiness of life that causes me to feel at times as if I'm unable to swim in the deep end of the pool, as they say. We're no longer on the shore or in the shallow end, but have launched out into the deep. That can be a scary place or experience. The psalmist also knows that the one he's calling on has good news or a gospel message for him. And so the psalmist asks his God to send reporters to remind him of that good news, Romans 10, so that he would be encouraged to continue on in spite of everything that he's surrounded by, all of these 10,000s of enemies which surround him. In 1 Thessalonians 5:11, we're exhorted to encourage one another and build up each other, that is, edify, just as we have been doing. So we have to keep at it, encouraging one another and encouraging ourselves. And before we break down verse 1 even further, I just want to step through the words here, because I know Tripp's the way he uses verbiage, it may be easy to miss some of what he's saying. And then the way the video was set up, had the lyrics at the bottom, it could have been hard to fully take it in. So he says, "When my head is down, I can't see. Forward vision pixelated when I need it HD. Sailing navigate me to the prince's port like Haiti. I believe these rocky seas one day give way to safety. Save me from navigating through deserts. I've been grumbling and angry. Can't breathe. I've got way more on my plate than I can take. It's eating me up. And I know you got new mercies for me daily. Gotta re-up." And it's time to tell the enemy to stand down. When they ask who got it, put my hand down. Tell me what I need with worry when my help comes in a hurry. Why be scared of them when you can make them scurry? I wake up early just to stand by. All right, so let's continue to press forward. I just stepped through the words, so I'll just do the annotations, right? It's hard to see where you're headed when your head is down. You might run into something. God is the lifter of our heads. Psalm 3:3 states, but thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory, and the lifter up of mine head. God also gives us clarity of vision. For without the clarity and wisdom from God, it's as if we have scales over our eyes, much like Saul did on the road to Damascus before his encounter with Jesus Christ. Before his encounter, he could see, but he missed who and what was in front of him the entire time. That's Acts chapter 9. And then, of course, he became blinded after his encounter and needed to be prayed for so that his sight would return, that he would be given true vision, if you will. Also, we're reminded in terms of navigation and safe journey on rough seas. We're reminded of the instances where the disciples were on the boat and they had various interactions with Jesus. In particular, in Matthew 8, right, the waters are very choppy. A storm has come and Jesus is asleep in the bow of the ship, right? And so they go and they wake him up and they say, don't you care that we're perishing? You're just sitting down here chilling as if we're not surrounded by this swarm, right, out on these waters. And so they realized that they needed to call on the Prince of Peace to bring calm to the storm, which would then allow them safe passage across the remainder of the sea. So let's talk about this journey that the psalmist describes. We recently completed our celebration of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and this commemorates the journey of the Hebrew people that they took through various deserts on the way to their promise. These were hot and dry places. These individuals wandered for 40 years, which is the equivalent of one generation, while they were waiting to receive what God had for them. However, they did not trust the Lord in what he called them to do. And as a result of their lack of trust and disobedience, they often became angry and grumbled at the leadership that God had appointed over them for the time being. That's in Exodus 16. Now, it can be easy, as we move to the next part of the verse, it can be easy in the day-to-day for us to become overwhelmed by what we need to get done or hope to achieve. 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. By giving our to-do lists and aspirations over to the Lord, we receive rest in him and do what he needs done in his timing. Likewise, Lamentations chapter 3 reminds us of the Lord's goodness and faithfulness. His mercies are new every morning. And so the psalmist is setting out clearly that each and every day we need to receive those new mercies from God because of course, yesterday had trouble, tomorrow will have trouble of its own. And so we need that grace and mercy to be able to push forward and do whatever it is that he needs us to do on that day. Let's continue through the verse. Ephesians 6:13 encourages us to stand firm, and having done all we can to continue to stand. The reality is we don't stand by, pun intended, right? We don't stand by our own strength or in our own power. James 4:7 says, submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. Our resistance is an act of defiance against the forces of darkness. Therefore, we fight by remaining steadfast in who Christ says we are. The psalmist says, it's time to tell the enemy to stand down. And when they ask who got it, I put my hand down. How do we fight our battles? We fight our battles by moving out the way so that the Lord can work. Let him cook, as the young folks say. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. That's Exodus 14. Being still is not inactivity. It's choosing to rest in him and be led by him. But let him cook. And as you let him cook, continue to taste and see that the Lord, in fact, is good. Not only that, the psalmist talks about worrying. which is a common human experience. Jesus exhorts us to not worry about anything, what we will eat, drink, or wear. He's got us. Not only that, Deuteronomy 28 speaks to what it's like when an enemy opposes us. The verse says that the enemy will come at us in one direction and scatter in seven. And so, although the enemy has shown up, if I know that the enemy is going to scatter in seven directions, why should I fear if they're going to just run away when it's all said and done? Just something to think about. And then lastly, I wake up early just to stand by. I wake up early just to be ready. Mark 1:35 tells us that Jesus got up early in the morning while it was still dark. He went to an isolated place and there he prayed. And while he prayed, he waited to see what the Father was doing so that he could go out on that day and do the same thing. John chapter 5. The reason why I chose this song is I'm a huge fan of Tripp, just the way that he navigates the page in terms of his verbiage and putting words together, the flow. I'm just really kind of in awe of that. But also, there's just so much rich theological truth in this song, in these lyrics. And when I came across this song, it was at a time in my life where I was preparing to transition from one job to another job. I had just started taking on some additional extracurricular activities and running after some of my hopes and dreams. And it just seemed like things were busy or that they were going to get busier. It was almost as if, how can I say, this song was given to me to encourage me during a particular season.